Hare Krishna. So, today we'll be continuing with our study of the third chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. So, before we go into today's verse, we'll start with the Mangalacharya. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjadam Sahagana Regunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sube Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpada Rupescha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nitya-dāsa Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we've been studying chapter 3 titled Karma Yoga, and for easier understanding we have this acronym TREE. So we have divided into 4 sections, and to remember these 4 sections there's an acronym TREE or tree. So why the example of a tree has been taken up here? It's because the tree selflessly serves us by giving us shade, by giving us fruits, despite it being mistreated. So similarly, a karma yogi should selflessly do his prescribed duty. And that is what this chapter is about. It is about selfless service. So we can, for easier understanding, we can divide it into 4 sections. So the first section is, which stands for T. T means Tyaga. So the first 9 verses of this chapter, there are in total how many verses? 43. 43 verses are there. So the first 9 deals with Tyaga or renunciation. So at the beginning Arjuna is confused because in 2.49 in the previous chapter, Krishna says that you have to use your intelligence and thereby avoid all abominable activities. So Arjuna is confused, and at the end of the second chapter Krishna says that you have to fight this battle. So Arjuna was confused. He thought that in 2.49 where Krishna says Durena Hyevaram Karma, he mistakes it for something else. So what he thinks is that spirituality means to retire from active work and renounce, go back, retire in the jungle and meditate upon the Supreme. So that's what he thought was what spirituality was. So actually this is an escapism from worldly duties. So Krishna, he explains that mere renunciation is not what is required. Instead, one should renounce the mentality that one is the enjoyer of his activities. One is the controller of his activities. So that mentality has to be renounced. That is what Krishna meant there. And the results of his work should be offered to God. So the first section deals with renunciation, Tyaga, which we've already covered. Now today we're going to start with the 10th verse, which comes in the second section. So R stands for rungs. Rungs means the steps. So Krishna compares yoga to a ladder on which there are different levels of yoga practice. So in order to reach a state of renunciation or tyaga, one has to climb these rungs on the yoga ladder. So at the lowest level of the yoga ladder comes animalistic stage. I will show this. Yeah. So if you look here, what do you see at the bottom? First is animal life. Animal life means that particular person is just involved in all animal propensities. That is just eating, sleeping, mating and defending. He has absolutely no interest in spiritual life. So that is the lowest level, which most of us are in. So next comes the karma kanda level, where one he enjoys materialistic enjoyment. He still desires materialistic enjoyment in the karma kanda level. But now he tries to achieve it by through religious observances. So following the Dharma Shastras, he does certain activities so that he can enjoy in a dharmic way. So that is the next stage. That is the next stage on the yoga ladder, Karma Kanda. Then comes Sakama Karma Yoga. Sakama Karma Yoga means one comes to the stage where he realizes that materialistic enjoyment, he understands the futility of materialistic enjoyment. He understands that there is no actual enjoyment in the so-called materialistic enjoyment. And then he starts to offer the portion of his work to God. He starts to offer his results to God. Even in this stage, there is still some selfish motivation. So the next higher stage comes Nishkama Karma Yoga, which we often call as Karma Yoga. So Nishkama Karma Yoga means he accepts whatever is needed just for his maintenance, just for his sustenance. Whatever is required, he accepts that, and the remaining, he offers everything to God. So such people are free from karmic reactions. So whatever action we do, there is always a reaction. So such persons, they don't have any karmic implication, and they become very peaceful, and eventually they get liberation. So the rest of the yoga ladder we'll discuss later. So now just focus up till Nishkama Karma Yoga. So that's what the second section is about, the rungs of the yoga ladder. So today we are going to deal with the first level, or the stage after animal life. That is the what comes after animal life. Today we'll be dealing with the first rung of the yoga ladder. The stage after animal life. Karma Kanda. Okay. After that comes only Karma Yoga. Sakama Karma Yoga comes, and then Nishkama Karma Yoga comes. So today we'll be dealing with the Karma Kanda section. I'll just briefly say what the third and fourth sections are about. So the first E of tree stands for exemplary, which comes under the verses 17 to 35. So here it mentions that a karma yogi actually doesn't have to do anything otherwise. He can retire from all worldly duties. But a karma yogi, he doesn't retire from his worldly duties. He continues to do his prescribed duties, and as a result, he sets a perfect example to the society. So he's an exemplary example. That's what E stands for. And the final E, which deals with the last section of this chapter from 36 to 43, the last E stands for enemy. And what is the enemy of the soul? After hearing all these instructions, we become very enthusiastic to do all these instructions that Krishna has provided. But when we start doing this, we feel, or something keeps pulling us back time and again. That is the enemy of the soul, and that is kama, that is lust. So kama is discussed in the last section of this chapter. So this is in brief about the third chapter entitled Karma Yoga, and today we are going to discuss the 10th verse of the third chapter. So the second chapter of the Bhagavad-gita is like a prelude to the whole Bhagavad-gita, entire Bhagavad-gita. So different topics are discussed there. Sankhya Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and a bit of Bhakti Yoga is also mentioned there. So everything is in a mixed, it's not given in a very systematic manner. So from the third chapter onwards, Krishna is going more organized. He's giving a more systematic explanation of what the different types of yoga are. So what does Krishna discuss in chapter 3? He's going to discuss about karma yoga, or more accurately, nishkama karma yoga, which is doing your prescribed duties without any expectations and offering the results to God. So, and the benefit by doing nishkama karma yoga is that one becomes free from bondage. He gets liberated. So chapter 3 begins with Arjuna asking a question. Arjuna begins with a question. So that shows that Arjuna is a very intelligent disciple. He's listening very carefully. So the first step in spiritual life is, or for that any matter, for any kind of education, you have to listen attentively. Then only you will understand what the teacher is saying. So in 2.49, as I said, mentioned earlier, Krishna says that you have to keep away from all abominable action by Buddhi Yoga. But what actually Krishna meant was that Nishkama Karma Yoga is more superior over Karma Kanda. So we saw the rungs of the yoga ladder. Karma Kanda comes below, much below Nishkama Karma Yoga. So what actually Krishna meant by Karma Kanda, what do we mean?
Following ritual.
Karma Kanda is the path of fruitive activities. And Nishkama Karma Yoga is working with detachment, with knowledge and detachment. So for Karma Kanda, there are 80 authorized scriptures. Manu Samhita being one of the prominent ones. So in such scriptures, various methods are given how to counteract one's sinful actions. And by performing those sinful actions, you can counteract the effects, and at the same time, you can make progress. So that is what Karma Kanda is about. So Arjuna's understanding was that Krishna said to keep away from abominable action. So Arjuna's understanding was that fighting this battle is an abominable action. Therefore, using my intelligence, Krishna said use your intelligence. So using Buddhi Yoga or intelligence, what I'm going to do is I'm going to renounce this battle. And at the end of second chapter, Krishna ended by saying, you have to fight this battle. So that's why Arjuna became confused, and at the beginning of chapter 3, he asked this question. So what should I do? And then Krishna says that there are two types of people. Based on Nishta, based on their faith, there are two kinds of classes of people. One is the Jnana Yogis or the Sankhya Yogis. These are the people who renounce work. And there are a second class of people who do work and renounce the results of the work. And they are known as Karma Yogis. So there are Jnana Yogis and there are Karma Yogis. And Arjuna, you should do Karma Yoga. That is Krishna's answer. So naturally Arjuna, another doubt comes to his mind. So if I do Karma Yoga, won't I get bound? Won't the results affect me? That is what we learned in last verse 3.9. Krishna says, there's a secret. What do you have to do? Whatever work you do it for the pleasure of the Lord. And then you can avoid bondage. That is the secret Krishna gives. So this is called yajna. This is called sacrifice. So offering your prescribed duties to Lord Vishnu or Krishna without personal desire is called yajna or sacrifice. Now then Krishna goes on to say that even if you cannot perform karma yoga, then you should still perform karma kanda rather than renouncing, because Tyaga was in the mindset of Krishna. So Krishna said, Tyaga is not meant for you. You should do karma yoga. If you can't do karma yoga, then do karma kanda. Why? Because you can get your desire satisfied in a religious way, and at the same time you will get purified and you will become free from attachment. So doing karma kanda is better if you can't do karma yoga. So today we are going to discuss the first the first verse in the second section, which is about karma kanda. So 3.10. Sahayajna praja srishtva Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavishyatvam Esha voshpishtakamadu Sahayajna praja srishtva Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavishyatvam Esha voshpishtakamadu Sahayajna praja srishtva Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavishyatvam Esha voshpishtakamadu. Someone can repeat.
Sahayajna praja srishtva Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavishyatvam Esha voshpishtakamadu.
Sahayajna praja srishtva Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavishyatvam Esha voshpishtakamadu. Sahayajna praja satsanga Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavishyatvam Esha voshpishtakamadu. Sahayajna praja srishtva Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavishyatvam Esha voshpishtakamadu. Sahayajna praja srishtva Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavishyatvam Esha voshpishtakamadu.
Sahayajna praja srishtva Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavishyatvam Esha voshpishtakamadu. Sahayajna praja srishtva Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavishyatvam Esha voshpishtakamadu.
Word to word meaning. Saha, along with Yajna, sacrifices. Praja, generations. Srishtva, creating. Pura, anciently. Vacha, said. Prajapati, the Lord of creatures. Anena, by this. Prasavishyatvam, be more and more prosperous. Esha, this. Vah, your. Astu, let it be. Ishta, all desirable things. Kamaduk, bestower. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu. and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." So please repeat. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures, sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." Who would like to read the purport?
Hare Krishna. Purport. The material creation by the Lord of creatures, Vishnu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by the material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Vishnu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are to help us understand this eternal relation as it is stated in the Bhagavad-gita, Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedya. The Lord says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Him. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Padim Vishwasya Me Shwaram. Therefore, the Lord of the living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, 2.4.20, Srila Shukadeva Goswami describes the Lord as Padi in so many ways. Triya Padir Yajnapadir Prajapadir Diya Padir Logapadir Dharapati Padir Gadis Chandraga Krishni Sattva Sattvata Prasidhatame Bhagavan Padi. The Prajapati is Lord Vishnu and He is the Lord of all living creatures, all worlds and all beauties and the protector of everyone. The Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yajnas, that is sacrifices, for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world they can live very comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtana yajna, that is the chanting of the names of the God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures, and this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtana yajna and Krishna consciousness go well together. Lord Krishna in his devotional form as Lord Chaitanya is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.232 as follows, with special reference to Sankirtana yajna. Krishna varnam tusha krishnam sangopa dastra parshadam yajnai sankirtana praye yajandihi sumeta saha. In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates by performance of Sankirtana yajna. Other yajnas prescribed in the Vedic literature are not easy to perform in this age of Kali, but Sankirtana yajna is very easy and sublime for all purposes as recommended in Bhagavad-gita also, that's in 9.14.
Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna. So let's see what this shloka means. Saha yajna praja srishtva. So in the beginning, the Lord created men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu. Saha yajna praja srishtva. Purovacha prajapati. Pura means ancient times. Vacha, said. Who said? Prajapati, the Lord of all living entities. Anena prasayishyadvam. Anena prasavishyadvam means anena, by this prasavishyadvam, you will become more and more prosperous. Esha vostvishta kamaduk. So let this be your kamaduk. So kama means desires. So it's not meant in a negative connotation here. It means your necessities, your needs, your requirements. So let this be the provider of your ishta kamaduk. What? Let this be means the performance of, nobody's listening. Yajnas. By performance of yajnas, whatever you desire, it will be provided. So what is Krishna talking about? After animalistic life comes? Karma kanda. So an interesting point here is, Purovacha Prajapati. Some acharyas have given Prajapati, the reference to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as well as Lord. Who's the secondary grade? Brahma. So some Vaishnava Acharya says it refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and some say it refers to Lord Brahma. Either way, the consequence is the same. Okay? So, what is this shloka referred to? It is saying, Krishna is saying that since the time of creation, this system of yajna has been there. So, when a child is born, the parents take all necessary arrangements to take care of that child. Similarly, at the time of creation, the Lord has also taken certain requirements which are needed for the welfare of His children, of His living entities. And that's the system of yajna, that's the system of sacrifice. So yajna is Esha Vostvishta Kamaduk. Let it be a fulfiller of your desires. Krishna is saying that. So in these verses, Krishna is talking about something known as cosmic cooperation. That is cooperation between living entities, devas, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what cosmic cooperation is, that we learn in the coming verses. So when the Lord creates, He doesn't leave all living entities into wilderness. He takes care of them. And He has kept, this whole system is so perfect that the whole universe itself is perfect and complete. The invocation of Ishopanishad, what do we say? Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udichyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Evavishishyate. So what does the first line mean? Om Purnamidam Purnamadam Purnamidam. It means that Bhagavan is perfect and He is complete. Then Purnat Purnam Udichyate, which means all the emanations from Him are also perfect. Right? Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Evavishishyate. And even though all these emanations come from Him, He still remains complete and perfect. So that Supreme Personality of God, that perfect Bhagavan, has made all arrangements to take care of His living entities. So there are humans and there are non-human entities. So the non-human entities, they do not have to act in a karmically responsible way. Whereas human beings have a responsibility. Animals don't have a responsibility. They can act instinctively for the purpose of eating, sleeping, mating and defending. But humans, they also have been provided these necessities. But they have a responsibility to discharge their duty as humans. And what is that? Besides taking care of themselves, they have to serve the Supreme Lord. And that's the arrangement of universal governance that we learn in the coming verses. So, by following the system of yajna, what is the benefit? Anena prasavishyatvam. One's desires will be fulfilled. So one should understand that this material world is like it's a place of rehabilitation. So in my line of work, I work as a rehabilitation physician, which means that we tend to patients with people with disabilities. So there will be children with congenital deformities, or there may be people who have suffered strokes, or those who have suffered spinal cord injury. They might be paralyzed from their waist downwards or paralyzed from their neck downwards. So all kinds of people with disabilities come to us. And as a rehab physician, one's role is to rehabilitate them so that they can be taken back into society. That is our role. So for that we have a team where there are physiotherapists, there are occupational therapists, there are speech therapists, there are psychologists, there are rehab nurses and the doctors there. So all work as a team and they rehabilitate the particular individual so that they can come back to society as more productive individuals. That is the role. So here Bhagavan is the supreme rehab physician. What is he doing here? We have selfish desires to perform. We have certain selfish desires which we want to get achieved. But such things cannot be undertaken in the spiritual world. So Bhagavan has very mercifully created another world, which is the material world. And he has sent all those rebellious entities to the material world. You can go there and enjoy as much as you like. But still, he is still then very merciful. He hasn't just pushed you into the wilderness. What has he done? Like a loving father always wants his children to come back to him. So similarly, Bhagavan, he always wants his children to come back to him. So, though he has sent us to enjoy this material world, he has also given us the way by which we can come back to him. So that's why I said this is a place of rehab. So in this place, we shouldn't just be engaged in eating, sleeping, mating and defending the four animalistic propensities. We should understand that there is a higher purpose to life and we should find out what that purpose is and how to achieve that purpose. And Bhagavan has given us the ways by which we can go back to him. So here he is mentioning about a system of sacrifice or system of yajna by which one can satisfy his material desires and gradually he can become purified till he reaches the level of Krishna consciousness. So in Bhagavad-gita itself, later in the 15th chapter, in the 15th verse, Bhagavan again says that the goal of life is to know me. Vedeshta sarva ahameva vedeha. By all Vedas, I am to be known. In 15.15 he says. Then Srila Prabhupada, the purport, he quotes this beautiful prayer by Shukadeva Goswami from Srimad Bhagavatam, where the Lord is referred to as Pati. Pati means master, husband, Lord, in that sense, Pati. So here Srila Shukadeva Goswami says, Shriya Patir Yajnapati Prajapatir Dhiyampatir Lokapatir Dharapati Patir Gatish Chandaka Vrishni Satpata Prasidatam Me Bhagavan Satam Pati. So what does it mean? Shriya Pati, he is the Lord of Shri, goddess of fortune. Yajnapati, he is the Lord of sacrifices. Yajna, that's what we mean discussing here. Prajapati, he is the Lord of all living entities. Dhiyampati, he is the Lord of intelligence. Lokapati, he is the Lord of all planets. He is the Lord of all planets. Dharapati, he is the Lord of earth. Patir Gatish Chandaka Vrishni Satvatam. And he has appeared as the Lord of all kings, like Andaka and Vrishni, both who come in the Yadu dynasty. Prasidatam me Bhagavan. So please my Lord, Satampati, because you are the master of all the devotees. So Srila Prabhupada quoted this verse to show that Bhagavan is the Prajapati, and it is this Prajapati who has given us the system of Yajna. So as conditioned souls, currently we have forgotten our relationship with God. We have even forgotten about ourselves. Who we are, we don't know. We don't know who Bhagavan is. We don't know where we have come from. So this is our golden opportunity to understand who we are. And Bhagavan has given us scriptures to understand who we are, who He is, and where our original residence was. So He has given us the Vedas to study. But reading the Vedas will take many, many lifetimes. It's so voluminous. It's impossible to study in one lifetime. So that is why we are taking the pains of studying Bhagavad-gita, because Bhagavad-gita is the essence of all scriptures. Whatever you find in all the other scriptures is given in a condensed form in the Bhagavad-gita. So careful study is required. Careful study means, how should we study the Bhagavad-gita? Attentively. Submissively. You should approach in a humble manner. And from where should you study?
From the right source.
You should study from a proper parampara. Otherwise you won't get to know that you won't get to know Krishna's position and that He is the Padi. You won't get to understand that. So Srila Shukadeva Goswami describes the Lord as Pati in so many ways in this beautiful shloka. But as conditioned souls, we have forgotten who our Pati is. So hence the scriptures give us the knowledge who we are and who the Supreme Lord is, who the Pati is. And besides that, from time to time, He sends His pure representatives to this worldly platform to remind us the fact that this is not our residence, this is not our original residence, we belong to some other place. Currently we are now in a foreign environment. So these representatives come time and again and they remind us, get out of this place, this is not your place, you actually belong to a different place. So that's why we should always be indebted to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Prabhupada showed us the way and we just have to follow it. But in general, people mistake Sanatana Dharma as a polytheistic religion or Hinduism as a polytheistic religion. I studied in a Christian school and besides me there was one more girl. We were the only two Hindus in our class. So all my friends have been Christians throughout my life. And during my school days, we used to have Bible classes every week. So it was optional for us. If you wanted, we could attend or not. And after our Bible class, my Christian friends, they would come and ask me various questions. Why is your religion like this? Why do you have so many gods? There is only one God, right? And your gods look so terrible. If you look at Kali, she has a tongue protruding out. She looks so fearsome. Why so many forms? And at that time I didn't have an answer. And I used to think that what they say makes a lot of sense. There should be only one God. Why are there so many gods and goddesses? It looks quite strange. And actually I was quite attracted to Jesus and the teachings of Christianity. But when I came in touch with ISKCON and Srila Prabhupada's disciples and grand disciples, I got the answers to all my questions. I understood the position of demigods. I understood who Bhagavan was, who we are. Actually, from a theoretical aspect at least, I got to understand all this knowledge. So all this goes to whom? To Srila Prabhupada. Because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy, today we are sitting here and we are discussing the Bhagavad-gita. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So in this verse, it's being mentioned that the Lord is the perfect Padi and He has created the perfect rehab plan. So what is our disease? Our disease is our conditioning. As conditioned souls, we have forgotten everything. Our whole, like you wipe a hard disk, you format a hard disk, our brains are completely formatted now. We have forgotten our spiritual connection with the Supreme Lord. So, here Bhagavan is saying that you have to perform yajna, do sacrifice. By performing yajna, you can gradually get purified, and as a result, eventually you can reach to the stage of Krishna consciousness. So there are different yugas. There are Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Currently, we are living in the most degraded age of Kali. And in Kali Yuga, Bhagavan has given a specific yajna. What is that yajna? Sankirtana yajna. So, in Kali Yuga, the prescribed yajna is Sankirtana yajna. And who gave us this? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can see in this picture, who is none other than Krishna himself, who came in the form of a devotee 500 years back, and his appearance is mentioned here as we read in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32. What does it say? Krishna Varnam Dvisha Krishna Sangopankastra Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Praya Yajantihi Sumedasa. What does it mean? Krishna Varnam. He is none other than Krishna. But there's a difference. Dvisha Akrishna. Krishna means one who is black in color. So Akrishna means not black in color. It's just the opposite. And how does he come? Sambo Pankastra Parshadam. He doesn't come alone. If you see all these important personalities, when they come, do they come alone? They have a whole retinue with them. Yeah. So similarly, Bhagavan also doesn't come alone. When he comes with his associates. So Sa Anga, he comes with his associates. Then Upa Anga, he comes with his servitors. Astra, he comes with his weapons. What is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's weapon? Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the holy name. And Parshadam, his confidential companions. Yajna Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti hi Sumedasa. Sumedasa. Those who are intelligent to understand this, what will they do? Yajna Sankirtana Prayer. They will engage in Sankirtana Yajna. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you see here, he is with his associates. He has come to teach us how to perform Yajna. What Yajna? Sankirtana Yajna. So we can do this Sankirtana Yajna, and by that we can purify our consciousness gradually, and we can connect ourselves with Bhagavan. So the summary here is, Krishna has explained what the Vedic Karma Kanda system is, and by performing Karma Kanda, by performing Yajna, one's needs are fulfilled, and at the same time you can live happily, you can get purified, and ultimately you can achieve liberation. So before I conclude, I'll just show a small video where Srila Prabhupada explains how Govinda, the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, used to selflessly serve him. So we're talking about selfless service. So I thought this video would be apt. Could you please keep a mic there?
In Lord Chaitanya life, that he and his partner married Govinda. So after Lord Chaitanya went to heaven, and then Govinda was there. So one day, Lord Chaitanya, after taking to heaven,
secret is how to please Krishna. So in this example or in the story, we saw how Govinda, he stepped over the Lord just to massage his feet. But when it was time for him to take prasadam, again he had to step over the Lord. But he didn't do that at that time. But when it was time to massage the Lord's feet, he didn't take into consideration that offense of stepping over the Lord. He stepped over him and came to massage his feet. So why did he do that? Because he was not concerned about his desire, but he was more concerned how to serve the Lord or how to please the Lord. This is another story. I'll just conclude with the story. This is Raghava Pandit, again in Chaitanya Leela. Have you heard of Raghava Pandit? What was Raghava Pandit famous for? He used to serve the Lord by cooking. Through cooking seva, he served Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Raghava Pandit had his own coconut grove. He was a landlord, he was wealthy, he had his own coconut groves. But to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to select the best of coconuts. And what he used to do is, he never used to take the coconuts from his own coconut grove. He used to go to some other distant place, spend money, buy coconuts and keep it in water so that it will be cooled. And then the best of coconuts he would give to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So one day, while preparing to cook for the Lord, he told his servant to go and bring these coconuts from this place. So he brought coconuts, and after bringing all the coconuts, they were about to prepare food for the Lord. And at that time, his servant was leaning onto the door or wall like this. He had kept his hand like this. And he was about to take that coconut. And immediately, Raghava Pandit, he chastised his servant. He said that, you shouldn't do this. Whatever service you are doing for the Lord, it should be absolutely clean. And he refused to allow this servant to render service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So whatever we do, it should be done in a perfect manner. And it is said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he personally appears in 4 places. Avirbhava, in 4 places. One of the places is where Raghava Pandit cooks. Where Raghava Pandit cooks, where Shachimata cooks, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. Then where Srivasangan, where there is Sankirtana in Srivas Thakur's house, again Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. And where Lord Nitya-dāsa dances. It is said that in these 4 places, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally appears. So, the take-home message, someone can read.
In this age of Kali, the Sankirtana Yajna, chanting of the names of God is recommended by the Vedic scriptures, and this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Bhagavad-gita 3:10, purport, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Jai.
So in the next verse, we can study how a follower of this yajna or of this system can satisfy his desires. So thank you very much for your patient listening. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,